So hello everyone. Today with me I have Bala Nithin, one of the achievers of JEE Advanced 2025. Rather than me speaking about all these things, Bala Nithin, we would like to hear from you. So can you briefly introduce about yourself, like about your name and your JEE rank and what all course you are about to pursue?
Definitely, sir. So, hello everyone. I'm Bala Nithin MS, and I got a JEE CRL rank of 1145.
So another issue that many students face during their preparation is that, sometime while solving assignment, while solving questions, they come across and they feel that some question are very, very difficult, or some question are totally new, and they'll get stuck over there. So how did you deal? So how did you deal with these kind of question which felt very difficult or completely new?
Sir, like I had this kind of step-like process. First, obviously, we read that question. Like, if something didn't seem to click, I read it again slowly. And if it's a pen paper thing, I like mark those like places where there are numbers or something which might prove to be important later on. And reading it two or three times, usually, if it is something trivial that we have missed, we will figure it out. If not, I would go to that like second level where I would go to like if it's physics or chemistry where there is like some kind of theory involved, I would go to either the notes or some textbook randomly and I would read out that part which pertains to the question. Usually that would help me click those things. Even for math, sometimes when we have those conic questions, sometimes they ask questions from those properties. And initially I was struggling with that, but every time there was a question like that, I would go back to that page where all the properties were written in my notes and I would go through them, seeing is this property useful? Is the second property useful? Like that. And over time, it just went in. And by the time the exam came around, even properties questions I was able to solve somehow. So that is there. If that also doesn't work out, earlier what I used to do is I would just keep the question like that. And I would wait almost 1 or 2 months and I would just go back to that question. By then we would have learned something new like from everywhere and it many of the questions would get solved like that. But then during the last few months of preparation, that we couldn't do. So that stage, I would just go directly to the teacher. But earlier, when we were just learning about stuff, I would keep the question. And after that month or so, I would review it. And by then, usually the question gets solved. The last step, like only when nothing else works, I would go to the teacher. So that was there. Only in this last like few days, I thought, okay, it's not worth it to go through the questions this many times also. And some of the questions I just asked. And turns out I had not known some concepts only. Like so many concepts. They were very simple only, but somehow I had just not come across them. And these questions had them. So if someone is trying to follow, like, in the future, maybe some questions it might be worth asking like earlier on only. So maybe you can just take like 1% of your questions and ask it and keep the others. Maybe the ones that you find interesting, you can keep it to like explore yourself. Maybe the ones where there's sometimes we have an inkling that there is something in this question that we do not know. And I would keep even those questions just like that, thinking, yeah, they're going to cover so many more concepts in the future. We'll figure it out like that. But maybe those questions you can ask immediately and be done with it also. That is one thing I would have done differently.
Okay, okay, all right. So I think that was a very, very nice explanation. I think many students will be able to relate that really, really well. So thanks for that. Now, another issue, like I'll just talk about is which many students say that they have this issue of silly mistakes or calculation mistakes or misreading the question. So did it happen to you and how did you overcome these challenges?
Sir, I think the truth is this thing happened. This was the biggest problem I had actually. And I don't think I overcame it even now actually. And the scores I would say were not because I was able to like somehow tackle it or anything, but because I was able to like strengthen in all the other areas that this became insignificant in a way. I couldn't figure out a way around it actually. I mean, people said like you just have to be more careful with the questions, be more attentive and all. But it just didn't seem to work for me, sir. Maybe not from me. Maybe someone else has to answer this one. Like silly mistakes, I was never able to figure them out. Like they happened in the JEE main session one, in session two, in session one, math and all. Like there were so many silly mistakes. But when we came to advanced, we had some kind of seriousness also around. Like, and since the question count is also less, I mean, we usually write tests for 18 questions, but they had given two less actually. So that also helped out. And I think in advanced point of view, we can maybe review the questions after the like we have done everything else. Like maybe that is possible, but I didn't really figure out how to tackle it properly.
Okay, okay.
I've
But
asked way too many people, sir, but the suggestions, it just didn't seem to work for me. Sometimes it's like that. But when we get
okay.
serious, definitely, I think they reduce a bit at least. Like when we're more serious with the exam and we're like in that mental state, it will definitely reduce. Maybe not in the mocks and all, but in the actual paper, it might just work like that.
So thanks for that. But yes, so maybe I guess for the silly mistakes, as you told that it might reduce on the real exam for many students. And so yes, thanks for the answer. Now, like we'll move on to another section of the question that is about strategy and daily routine. So, like one very important question that many students ask us as well, and many aspirants want to know is that two things like what was your like how did your average day look like, especially during like during that phase when you were going to the school. So, how does your daily routine was, and the day you are not going to the school. So, on those days, how your daily routine was. So, can you just tell us about that part?
Yes. So when I was going to the school, it was like 7 to 2 in the morning we would have school, and 5:30 to 8:30 in the evening we would have coaching, like on
Okay.
alternate days. And on the days when we didn't have coaching also, 5:30 to 8:30, I usually kept it as time to just finish whatever I had left from the previous day's coaching only. So those two I can't really consider as study time. Like it was just time to learn, like from the teachers. In between morning, I have not done much. Like even till the end, morning study, I have not done much. But between 2 to 5:30, we'd have like some time. Like, I mean, there is a lot of travel also involved, but maybe an hour or two we can get there usually. And that time I would sometimes I'll just review the schoolwork, do the homework and all. And sometimes I'll just go through the problems. I mean, the problem doing has been very irregular for me, sir. Like, I just pick up any book, start any set of problems whenever I want. That's how it was for much time, like most of the time. Because I don't think the aspirants need to like have very regimented time schedules and all, especially if they're trying for like the IITs and anywhere we don't need that kind of regimentation. You have to do this between this time and this between this time. I think mine was very flexible actually, and um, much work used to get done late in the night, so that was also there. Especially if there is a test upcoming and all, I have stayed up very late and done it like that. And I didn't have like a regimented plan at all, like the whole time. But I would say that usually it is better to do math in like in the earlier hours in the mornings or something like that. And it's better to do chemistry in the later hours, like at night or something like that. Because that just seemed to make sense. And physics, whenever we want, we can do. That's how it worked, sir. Like it was just
Okay.
very flexible. But on the days without coaching, earlier on, I remember I used to have targets for those days. It was just fun stuff. So, like, we had those book question sets of 20 questions for chapters. And I used to target like what, 7, 8 of them in a day, something like that. And it's not like all of them would be advanced level also. There were some mains and some advanced, and I would do some mix match between the subjects and just reach my target. And like it was just fun like that. Much of the time, I don't think like it was not at all planned properly, if you ask me, but I had a lot of fun along the way. And I think that's what mattered for me also. But this last, like in the last week, like no, last 2 months of preparation, I did much math in the morning only, and physics notes review would happen in the afternoons if there were no classes in the afternoons or the classes. And late at night, I would always sit for chemistry. For 1 or 2 chapters, I just sat with my mother and we did all the mugging up together. So that also happened. So yeah, late at night, always chemistry.
All right, all right. So I think for you, a flexible schedule worked really well, and you basically have fun and do question and learn. So that's work. All right. Now, another question that many students have is that, like, how to balance school study, board preparation, and J preparation. So, was it ever a challenge for you to manage boards, school, and J preparation, or you felt it like it went in sync for you, or basically how you were able to balance it out?
Sir, actually, like as I said, I joined like a coaching in ninth grade. So like obviously people are not that serious in ninth and 10th. So by the time we came to that serious part by 11th, I had somehow figured out how to like juggle them. But earlier on, what I used to do is whenever we had an exam coming, whichever exam was first, preference would go to that. Obviously, I was more interested towards doing what the coaching wanted me to do because that always seemed to be like more interesting, more challenging and all. But for those subjects like biology, social sciences, and all, I used to just make time before the exam. Of course, people don't care that much about school marks, like in ninth grade and all. But when the boards came around, I remember for almost a month or so, I just sat for that in 10th grade. But after 11th comes around, I think the overlap becomes much more between coaching and school. And doing for coaching was basically the same as doing for school, apart from those like fun projects or whatever they were giving. So the overlap helped a lot. For the contrast, I mean, I saw 3 or 4 types of people in this. There were some people who'd always put school before coaching. So if there's a school exam and a coaching exam, they would just put their all for school. Those people, they obviously did quite well in the boards and all, but competitively they found it really hard, if you ask me. And there were some people who tried to like balance both in like in some juggling sort of thing. That also didn't help that much. I mean, I think everyone has to choose between the two, like at least you have to put it like 60-40 instead of putting 50-50, which doesn't seem to work. 60-40 at least has to be there. And for me, I always put the 60 for coaching. That doesn't mean I didn't do anything for school and all there also. I mean, I studied an entire unnecessary subject like that. I took bio instead of CS. So that was also there. But I usually put my preference for the coaching. And when the school exams rolled around, I just focused on getting whatever bare minimum would help me escape from the teacher, basically. Like, the teacher should not feel bad. That's my perspective on most things. Like, they have given, even the school teachers, they have put in their full effort into teaching the students. And it is important that we reciprocate in some way at least. And I just did enough so that the teachers wouldn't feel that like this person is not at all putting attention towards this, and that was enough. Even for the boards, it was reasonably good.
That's very nice to know. Now, on this topic, because as you said that you have taken a subject bio which was not relevant for you, what will be your suggestion for the future aspirant? Like, what should they should take as their fifth subject during the JEE preparation?
I mean, sir, the truth is, if we have good teachers for the subjects that we are choosing, we don't really feel any burden. Like, I mean, obviously, for me, I got a very good bio teacher in my school, and he made sure that bio never felt like a burden. Only maybe in the last minute because the bio exam was only like a week before JEE main session 2. I mean, bio CS, both of them came very close. Only that time I felt a bit stressed. But the other times I didn't really think of it as a burden. And maybe there was some extra time spent there, but it doesn't really matter. So, like someone who's passionate about the sciences, the fifth subject, it doesn't really matter to them. Of course, if we are 100% sure that, yeah, we're set on JEE, we just have to crack JEE, then whichever subject feels the easiest, which is usually something like either CS or psychology, maybe, which feels the easiest, we can go with that. But it doesn't really matter if you ask me, sir. And bio gives more options also. Like, in case you suddenly lose interest in one of the PCM subjects, you can still like go to the doctor side of things or biotech or genetic engineering or any of those things also. So it doesn't really matter what the fifth subject is. If someone is really passionate about one of those subjects, then they have to take that, sir. Like, I don't want anyone who is actually quite interested in bio to take CS because it will help them in their JE, because that's not really true. CS is also just as rigorous, just as hard. So I don't think the fifth subject matters that much.
Um, So I guess as long as we have good teachers who can explain us, it doesn't really matter. All right.
For
Now,
self-learning, I think CS is a bit easier, sir. Like,
okay.
if you don't have that access to, like, there are some people who have been coming from the rural areas or something who don't have the access to that good teachers. I think for them, CS is actually easier because there is a lot more online resources and stuff. So yeah, that is there. But if you
Yes.
have good teachers, your choice.
All right. Uh, okay, so I think that will be very helpful for many aspirants. So as you said that for those who do not have good teacher, they can check for the online resources of the subject. Now, I'll move on to the next question. And this is a question, like I'll say, which many students face, that is about demotivation. So, has it ever happened to you that during this entire preparation time, sometimes you feel that you are losing interest or you are not seeing any progress? So, whenever those kind of thing happen, like, did it make you feel demotivated, or basically, how did you bounce back if these kind of thing ever happened to you? If you feel like you are losing interest or you're not able to get progress. So how did you bounce back and how did you handle the demotivation?
I mean, sir, it happens to everyone, and it did happen to me, especially with that subject which I always seem to hate the most, chemistry. Especially when organic chemistry rolled around, I was very disappointed in how bad I seemed to be at it. And for quite some time, I just left that part of the subject alone. I didn't have the courage to face it. But then I think what really helps in this condition is to change the surroundings completely. Like, as I did, as like we just came to a whole new set of teachers. I went online. Like, instead of going back to the same set of stuff over and over, sometimes it just becomes frustrating like that. And at those times, I've just changed the whole scenery about it. Like, I even stopped referring the textbooks that I was trying to use for the subject and tried to like jump to something new. And that's what for organic, I even made those own self notes also for the first time actually. It was for organic that I started like those own notes, and it helped out a lot. So when something seems too hard, I think it is an opportunity actually for us to like try something which we have not done yet in our preparation. Like, when what we've done for every chapter, it becomes boring also in some ways. Like, we're just repeating, we first do this, then do that, then do these questions. Then, like, when something doesn't seem to click, it's just an opportunity for us to change out our stuff. Like, go with a completely new order, see, like, maybe find more resources online and all. And so, like, for me especially, I think more than the subject being daunting, it was the people. Like, sometimes these people would just come to me and say, like, how are you taking, like, how are you balancing this? You can't do this, or something like that. And those used to really demotivate me. But then, in those times we just need to find someone else who supports us like that. Like it can be parents or it can be even teachers who just come are ready to like help you and all. So we just have to find someone like that at that point. Definitely there will be some well-wisher who is out there wishing for us. So I think that is the best way to tackle that.
Okay, so basically, if we have someone in our life who can keep on inspiring us on a regular basis, it will make life easier during the preparation.
Definitely, sir. It's really hard to go out without that.
All right, all right. So I think that will be very helpful for our future aspirants. Now, coming to another very important question is about test and mock practice. Now, we have seen that many students they say that okay, sir, exams are approaching, but I want to study more. So they will skip mock test and they will write less mock test. So we just want to know what is your take about the importance of mock test, like how important the mock tests are, and how much it should be like what should be the frequency and how much they should focus on study and writing mock test during the preparation time.
Sir, I think people can skip mock tests if they're either in 11th or very early 12th. But if you're like 9 months away from the exam or 6 months away from the exam, I don't think we can afford to skip mock tests. I mean, there might be like reasons sometimes, like if there is a personal reason or something, but it is very important to write that mock test at least later. It doesn't even have to be done in that test environment, also, sometimes. Even if you're just writing it at home, like just going through the questions itself helps a lot, if you ask me. So, like, we can't stress enough on this. Like mock tests, without those it is really hard to get anywhere with this JEE whole thing. I mean, of course you can do your concepts, you can strengthen the questions and all, but mock tests are the best way, the most efficient way for us to get where we want to. And I think frequency wise, I think we have to write one or two a week, at least like 3 months before the exam if we start, at least one or two a week. For advanced, for mains, I think we can do one every day for like the last month or so. Like in the last month before my Jan attempt, I was doing like one mock test every day because it was quite free at that time. Like the board exams were like a month away also, so there is like enough time to do a test a day. But I think even doing a test 3 days once, like two tests a week, is enough for mains. For advanced, obviously it is much more difficult also. So 3 months, a test a week with both papers, obviously.
So especially like before the examination, student need to do a lot of mock test.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
All right. So like after writing a mock test, did you also used to analyze your marks? And what you used to do if your marks are not inconsistent, if they are fluctuating, what you used to do for that as well? So can you just tell our aspirants also about that?
I mean, sir, the marks inconsistent for me. I don't think I saw something like that. I mean, my bigger problem was my marks used to be like this. I mean, the full score might be here, but they always went like this. Like it was flatlining at a point. Even though I was putting in more effort and all, doing more questions, it seemed to be going like at the exact same. I used to get like um +2 -2 only. Like from my baseline, I used to only go +2 -2, and I was really worried about that at a point. But when I spoke to the teachers and all, they just told me I should wait till the whole syllabus is over actually before worrying about stabilizing, because once the syllabus is done, usually the scores rocket up. That's what they were telling me, and it seemed to work also. That is one thing. And test analysis, I actually didn't have a habit for it earlier on, sir. But then after I came here, the teachers themselves wanted to do the test analysis. And only after doing two or three test analyses that I found that okay, this is actually very useful. Why haven't I thought of this before? I mean, no one wants to do the test analysis, because it's like you're going through your own mistakes again and again, and it kind of hurts that like self, like pride and all. But it was very helpful in the last minute, and if someone is going to start with their JE preparation, I think this is one of the most important things that they can do. Even if you're skipping tests left and right, if you analyze the tests that you write, at least you'll get somewhere for sure.
All right. So I think that's a very important input that, like, as you said, that it's very difficult to see our own mistakes. So that's why
Yes.
analysis is important. Okay.
I think it's even better when it's done with the teachers. I mean, I've tried doing self-analysis also sometimes, like maybe I'll just try the question again or Google it or something. But I think if it's the teacher who is helping us through the test analysis, asking us what went wrong, maybe suggesting a shorter method to some of the questions and all, I think that is really helpful.
So basically, analysis with the teacher because it gives you a wider perspective about the question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So coming to one last question about your preparation, is that what do you think was the biggest mistake you did during your JEE preparation, and like what will be your suggestion about that to the aspirants?
I think it was about choosing materials, sir. Like the biggest mistake I made, earlier, especially when I was just starting, I didn't want to go online actually. Like I had this idea that only offline works. Like you have to be in front of the teacher to learn, something like that. And that really it impeded me in like I could have done much better and with much more like fun if I'd just been ready to go online and search for resources rather than just doing what was given to me. If I'd been a bit more open to like online teachers, online resources and all, I think that would have helped a lot. And I think that is one thing which the tech savvy people, they're very ready to do, and I appreciate that about them actually. Like they have more like a wider range of resources, more books to access. It does, we don't have to get the physical copy also. Sometimes we can just get the PDF and go through. And I even like even the I think for physical chemistry, the Avasti, that Narendra Avasti book, it is the base thing that every aspirant does. But somehow I never heard about it. And only after like going through some Quora pages where they talked about what reference books to use, and only after that I figured out, oh, okay, there is something like this. And yeah, we have to be more open to the tech these days, if you ask me. So they help a lot. That is one big thing.
So, so I have one last question for you. That is, what will be your advice to the future aspirant? Like, let's say if they're like there have to be supposed that every future aspirant need to do three things. So, what are the three things that you will suggest that every JEE aspirant should do without fail?
Um, Definitely take fun in their learning and not be constricted to a career path is also very important. We don't really have to like decide that this is the only thing that we can do and like cloister ourselves like that. We have to be open to all ideas, I think, and be regular, I think, sir. Like I mean, you have to be open and all, but if you're going to do this, you have to do it with your full effort also. Like going in, we have to, of course, be open to different things, different ideas. Maybe there is something in a completely different field which you're meant for. That is also possible. But when you decide to enter this field, I think you have to go with a lot of gusto, a lot of effort. Rather than just skimming the surface, we have to go deep. So that is one thing everyone has to do. I mean, there are other things, sir, like we have to try to find good teachers, we have to try to find good material, but those things are not really in the students' hands most of the time. So I think they have to like try to get there, but it may or may not work, and they have to make do with what they're given most of the time. So it is like that.
All right. Okay. So that's all, Bala Nithin. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope this whatever conversation we had today will be very beneficial for all the future aspirants. So once again, thank you, Bala Nithin, for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.